Welcome to the Word. Welcome to the Word. 1 year. 1 year at the Word.
I can't even believe that. Yeah. How have we
episode
been able to do that?
31,
Congrats,
52
boys.
weeks. We'll take it. Okay.
I'm trying to convince Seth that we need a birthday party at the Kowloon.
I would get behind that.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, maybe you could
So,
sponsor
I was
us.
just going to say,
Would you like me to?
well, what we're looking
Well,
for is a small donation.
What we forgot to tell you is that you're here for a sponsorship pitch.
Open
Don't worry,
bar?
we'll share all of the attendees lists
Yeah.
names with you to make sure we don't violate.
It will be
RESPA.
open bar if you pay for the bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate
At a
that.
small $75 a head is all we're looking for.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
How many people,
$32 of that is we're going to split.
Okay.
Right. So that's how we're actually going to
16
be able to
and
pay our
16.
mortgage in December, hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
Or at least some of them.
Yeah. Not positive. 16 people might be there. So, geez, it's been a year. You guys were some of our first guests here.
I
on
think
the Word.
Anthony was our first guest.
Uno, dos.
I believe that's
Yeah.
cadence.
That's 1
Yeah.
and 2
Wow.
for you
Oh, I didn't know that.
non-Spanish speakers in the room.
Oh, so you mean and
And toi,
Oui.
quatre, cinq,
Oui.
six,
Oh,
sept,
you
Pulling
can
on
do
some of the
yeah.
high school French. Wow.
ocho?
Otra.
Otra. It's definitely not. There's no T in it. Is there a T in it?
I think so.
Nueve. That's Spanish.
Nope, that's Spanish.
Neuf.
Nuff.
Nuff is 9. Yeah.
Let's freaking go. Still got it. Thanks, Mr. Nance. Hope prison's
Oh,
okay
it's wheat.
for you.
It's wheat. It's not ultra. It's wheat.
That's right.
That's what
Yeah.
he said.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what he
Ji-
said?
Jimmy Nance.
Oh, I didn't have him. Oh, I had him one
Jimmy
year.
Nance and Furlong spending some time in the big time.
Oh, you didn't have Prof. Law?
Oh, Laughlin?
yeah.
You didn't have
Get
him?
off the
No.
grass.
yeah,
That dude.
man.
Oh,
I was afraid of that.
I was afraid of him too.
He was a grass warden.
He was a
was.
grass warden. What a guy.
He told us he was a Green Beret. I don't.
No, that's actually true.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
I did hear that story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, pretty sure he liked dudes.
Pretty sure he
Not
did.
there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
A little weird at the Catholic school in the 90s.
I mean, don't you think most of them like dudes in the Catholic school in the 90s?
You know, in
It was
in-
I mean,
I could-
boys.
yeah.
I gotta,
Catholic Church might have been the original Big Tent.
you know,
Might have been the original.
well,
it's-
it was like a tent show.
this seems now that you point that out, it actually just resonated with me. That
Yeah.
might be the case.
Yeah. I mean,
Nance,
the guys in dress,
Furlong,
the guys in dresses, the brothers. I mean,
okay,
they wore fucking
okay,
dresses.
okay. At what point is this not how we want to start the Word podcast?
Well, for
Take
those
minutes
of
ago.
you that are listening, I think that may not know this, but
Couple
one
prep alumni
yeah, we've
in the
got
house.
a whole bunch of prep guys here.
yeah, go Eagles.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fly,
Yeah.
Eagles, fly.
That
You
was
know,
the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Listen, you can't be out with the Owls if you want to fly with the Eagles.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Was that a line?
Yeah.
That was a line.
Where'd you learn that? BC
That's,
High.
That's a get home early curfew because you're a sports guy or something.
That's
Does that mean you were athletic, Marty?
no.
What sport did you play at St. John's?
Chess team.
I played soccer
Oh.
and baseball,
Oh.
and I did run track for 1 year
At
Oh.
St. John's?
at St. John's Prep.
That's pretty impressive.
All 4 years?
I'm impressed.
No,
Two.
No.
No.
Freshman?
1 year track, 3 year soccer, 4 year baseball.
Impressive.
Listen, that means you were
impressive.
pretty good
That
at
means you were
baseball.
really good.
Pretty good,
Yeah.
not very good.
Can I
But Brendan, weren't you a 4 year letterman on the
Sailing team?
sailing team?
I
Yes.
was on the sailing team.
Wow,
All
yeah,
4
no
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried out for soccer freshman
does a
year.
letter mean you got a varsity
Yeah.
letter?
Yeah.
Varsity letter. Yeah.
Yeah. But I stopped going to the tryouts because I kind of figured I wasn't going to make it and I didn't want the rejection. So I
Of
just
what was
said-
this?
Soccer.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've been avoiding rejection really since the late 90s.
Prior to that, probably
Early.
even. Yeah. I like a safe option.
Can we just make this
Flight
a
to
podcast
safety.
permanently? This is so much better. This is so much better.
Yeah.
This is great.
Oh man.
I mean, I miss the late 90s.
It was a good time.
does?
Dude,
Yeah.
dude, can I tell you guys something super messed up?
Yeah.
This really happened the other day. So we had a team building a couple of days of what was supposed to be the off-site, but it would turn into the on-site, so we didn't go anywhere. So we just, I don't know what we're calling it now. We still called it the off-site, even though it was on-site. Very confusing agenda. So after we finished for the day, we did like putt shack. We went and played some mini golf, had some drinks, whatever. And then the next day we just went and had dinner and then got like a nightcap or whatever. So I hopped in the car with Tom from the team. And I was like, dude, you ready for this? I threw on Forgot About Dre, which was great jam. You know, we did some rap.
I don't know.
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
You've
Come on.
forgotten about Dre.
Yeah, I didn't ever know about Dre
Dude,
to forget.
Forgot About Dre is an iconic song.
Okay, from what era?
It's from
Eminem.
it's Eminem and Dr. Dre,
Yeah.
and I'm
Early
pretty
2000s?
I'm pretty sure it's 2001. The Chronic, not positive. I'd have to double check.
Pretty sure you're right.
I've just been churched.
Kim, so Tom and I, we were just like having it, like word for word, did the whole song. It was great. And Tom was like, dude, I had no idea that you like knew that song. That's so cool. Whatever. He thought it was awesome. So he told Kim, and Kim was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, wait, you don't know about Forgot About Dre? And she's
don't
like,
know about
I don't.
Dre?
She had no clue what we were talking about, dude.
I can understand that.
Well, that in and of itself is actually very upsetting. And we should, I don't know. We'll play it offline. If I had,
We can play it at our birthday party. For
That's
the word.
great. It'll be the-
it'll be the soundtrack.
Yeah,
It'll be our walkout song.
might be inappropriate to do that, but
Well,
either
I've never
way,
heard it, so I don't know this.
I went into that because you said the early late 90s, whatever
Yeah.
it was. Very upsetting to an iconic song that still hits on the radio today,
Yeah.
multiple times a day, I think.
It vibes.
And it's a great tune. This chick has no clue about probably any of who those are. This chick being Kim. Sorry, Kim. You're not.
I'd like to
listening anyway.
sponsor that event too, that party. I'd like to
Yeah,
sponsor that
you
party.
would. You would.
Don't worry, we'll ask.
The Forgot About Dre
Yeah.
party.
The
Yeah.
Forgot About Trey party at Kowloon's celebrating the 1 year
the word.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Can we play some fish?
Invites in the what's that? Is PHISH?
Fish?
Yeah, PH.
Never listened to a song in my life.
Same.
Anywho,
We
let's
clearly
talk
had
about-
different music choices in the 90s.
Let's pivot. Quickly.
Away from Fish
please, for the love of God.
or the Grateful Dead?
Unless you're whipping up.
Wait, we were also opposed to the Grateful Dead?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Unless you're whipping up like an actual cod right now, like with some crushed Ritz on it. I don't want to dabble.
speaking
in-
of the 90s,
I know.
that's a 90s dish if I've ever heard one.
dude, there's nothing better than some baked haddock or something.
Ugh.
That shit's like $5.
I also hate whitefish.
Dude, it's the easiest thing. All you have to do is put it in a stick of butter with a Ritz cracker, and it's delicious.
I'll second that.
We're at the Gloucester
Couple
House.
fucking Gloucester guys right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're apparently don't know about if this was a bracket, you don't know about Forgot About Dre.
Nope.
You don't like
Flaky
good
whitefish.
Okay,
No.
cool. Anything else that we can talk about and instigate Brendan on before we talk about anything that's productive?
Oh, I'm sure that we'll just continue to go down this path as the day continues.
What is Nick Sands thinking right now? This podcast is about.
Let's just.
You
let's
mean
just
Paul
keep wandering.
Giamatti? Paul
keep wandering.
Giamatti?
Okay, so seriously, so it's been a year.
Yeah.
We sat here in a different setting. It looks way cooler now.
Agreed.
And yes, thank you, Jess, for making our office not look like shit anymore.
And for the good books.
Much appreciated. And the great books here that Brendan wants to live inside of.
Yeah.
Listen, dude, so much has happened in the last year. We're in a year of record transaction lows, the lowest year of transfers in real estate since 2008, which is crazy. Fun fact.
That is good.
Fun
stat.
fact, right? Great
That's a
stat.
good fact.
Snuggle up to that mic there. Laps.
Trying.
Yeah, there you go. So that's kind of crazy considering last year transaction volume was down substantially. This year is a super, super low. You can actually lift that whole thing up, by the way, too. It's got a pivot point in the back. You're good.
Is his locked?
Yeah, no. It's gonna
Put your hand down close. Nope, on this part.
the,
Yeah.
the bottom boom right here, dude.
It should-
Look. Oh, just kidding. It doesn't do
No,
that.
it pivots.
Got
here.
him.
It pivots here, yeah. All right, you're screwed.
There you go.
oh,
Look
there you
at
go.
that.
So super transaction
Crushing
lows
it.
Oh yeah.
since 2008. I think statistically down about 30% year over year, and we were down about 30% last year, right?
Real
So-
estate, we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing directionally 50% less transactions than we were in peak COVID, which albeit was up dramatically. Okay. But different market. Interest rates were, geez, I think we all said, they won't stay in the low sixes that long. We'll be back in the low fives before you know it. Shot to the low sevens.
I still remember the day you called me and said, "Hey, are you prepared for rates to hit 6%?" And I said, "Dude, there's no way they're ever going to hit 6%. You're out of your mind."
I think I said 9%.
Well, 9 was the secondary. 6 was first.
That's
I was like, "Yeah, you're crazy."
crazy, right? And
Shot
so
right by it.
we touched 8 for a minute there recently. Couple good weeks in the rate market, bringing it down low sevens now.
Mid 7s, yeah.
Oh, someone just got quoted 6.99 today.
With points.
Where? Don't
Can't
answer
tell
that. Don't answer
you.
that. Don't answer that.
No, a reputable local lender, 30-year fixed.
With
I'm-
points.
Smaller
Yeah,
bank
I'm sure.
or brokerage?
No, big brokerage. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Guaranteed rate.
Oh.
Just tell you.
Okay.
Client. Hit
No
me up
names.
about
No
it.
names.
No names.
G rate, the great. So I thought that was good to hear. You know, a lot of good economic and good relative terms. Bad economic data, which is great for interest rates, and just a freaking weird year.
Super
overall, right?
Yeah, it's been very different than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I thought we were gonna. Weren't we when you were here last time, Anthony? Weren't we talking about maybe a refi boom around now?
yeah, I
We
think
were
we
talking
were.
about
It's not. It's not here.
We should go dig up those reels.
Like 6 to 12 months out.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be able to refi. It's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Psych.
We're waiting for
I think
that.
you guys were all directionally right. It was just your timeline was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't change the goal. Just change the timeline.
Okay.
All right,
That
thanks,
works for
Marty.
us.
We'll keep you around.
Always a good coach, Marty.
Yeah, so listen, it's just really strange, but so I want to talk about a lot about that today. I want to talk how the markets are reacting about that and anything, I don't know, in general. Martin's just here for like great one-liners, I think. I'm not really sure. But I'd love to hear some more info from you. And then I'd love to discuss at length a little bit of all the lawsuit stuff that's been happening around real estate. Kind of get we haven't really talked about this at all, I don't think, too much.
Because we haven't talked about it on the podcast either because it
because we haven't
broke while
haven't-
we've been on hiatus.
Yes, sabbatical.
Yeah.
We take a lot of sabbats. You know what I mean? But we're gonna get back. We're trying to get on a bi-weekly rhythm.
Yeah.
I think
I like that for you guys.
That's a good rhythm.
Yeah.
weekly's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's and real estate transactions are down, so I don't know why we're not doing it. But nonetheless,
And your staff
nonetheless.
is growing, and your time is freeing up.
I said something to the gang yesterday, about staffing and whatnot, trying to grow the business, and someone said, "So it sounds like you guys have extra capacity now." And I was like, I should have extra capacity. Bi-weekly though. Anywho,
Awesome.
someone else talk.
Let's dive in. Let's dive in.
Let's
Yeah.
dive.
What I want to hear about too is the relationship between the economy generally and mortgage rates too. So I think it'd be interesting to hear how economic factors then sort of roll down to mortgage rates. And Anthony's looking like
Good
maybe
point.
it goes the opposite way.
No, it definitely goes in the way that you explained. I'm trying to think of the clearest way to explain a very complicated topic. That's
Right, because
my
it's
hold up.
It's somehow related to like the 10-year or the 5-year or the 2-year. Like it seems like with it when the bond rates change, that the interest rates and mortgages follow it in some way.
Yeah,
directionally.
And Seth and I had this
Yeah.
conversation recently where it's like it's not causation, it's more correlation. So the 10-year by itself doesn't cause rates to move, but they are correlated because both are going to move based on the same or similar information. Theoretically, a recession, a downturn in the economy is good for mortgage rates. Mortgage rates,
Even though no one can afford to pay their mortgage because they don't have jobs.
or their home equity line.
Yeah.
yeah, don't get me wrong.
Oh, let's talk about home equity lines too. And how they're
And
like the
credit card
next
debt.
ticking
And credit
time
card
bomb.
debt.
And credit card debt.
credit card debt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not great.
Don't get me wrong. A recession, job losses, unemployment rates creeping up, certainly no good for anybody that's affected. And obviously those people now can't buy a home. But for those that keep their jobs, interest rates on the mortgage side do perform well during recessionary periods. I would butcher
And
an
why is
explanation.
that?
I was just going to say I would butcher an explanation as to why.
It's because rates usually go down to stimulate the economy, and as the Fed fund rate goes down to stimulate the economy, the cost of borrowing for the banks
Borrowing
becomes
gets a
less
little bit easier. Yeah. So, there's a lot of factors.
Supply and demand, right? It's
Supply
like
and demand.
Econ 101.
Yeah.
I still don't really understand all the bond buying stuff.
What do you mean?
Bond
What I
prices and bond yields have an
Inverted curve
relationship.
Yeah.
So, new bonds today, let's just say a bond is issued at a 5%, right, coupon. Everybody who bought a bond last year at, say, 2%.
Ooh, they're
Right.
not happy.
If they want to sell that 2% bond, well, they can't sell it for full value
No.
because nobody's going to buy it. So you have to sell it at a discount. So the rising of rates will compress prices on bonds.
Right.
Right.
And you're screwed if you have old bonds that have low
Well,
interest
that's
rates.
right. So
SVB.
SVB,
SVB,
yeah.
yeah, that was some of the right? The causation of that crisis there.
Did you see the sneaky couple banks in, I think it was Ohio-ish or Indiana or something that failed?
That was like Citizens Bank Ohio or something. It was like the similar name. Yeah, I heard about it.
It wasn't like the Citizens Bank, but it was a
which was funny
Bank.
because a client called me. He's like, dude, did you hear? And I go, dude, bro, what are you talking about? And he was directionally correct, but it was just not. But it was actually for like bad bank management. It had nothing to do, my understanding, for nonsensical drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And where do we draw that line?
Well, you
bad
know,
banking and nonsensical drama.
Yeah, they sometimes are often the same.
They can overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Venn diagram.
Well, there's that.
Oh shit.
There's
Well
that,
played. Well played.
Boom.
There's that video about non-realized bank losses.
Oh, yeah.
The one you made me watch, the TikTok.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep talking about that.
I often get my financial information from
TikTok. Yeah.
Or
Super
YouTube.
reliable.
YouTube.
Same.
You can't put it on the internet if
great
it isn't
source.
true.
It's true. It's true.
I'm getting a lot of who's the guy who wrote the like 800-page book? Ray Dalio. So Ray Dalio, like TED Talks.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Every time I turn on my YouTube on my TV, it's like Ray Dalio, and it's like the Earth is ending.
Speaking of, big oversized figures in the financial world, did anybody see what Michael Burry did the other day?
Is he the guy from The Big Short?
The guy
He is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
He lost a ton of money, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he just closed his short position on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ to the tune of a $640 million loss.
Woof.
That's bad, right?
Can you write that off?
Yes.
That's a write-off, right?
That's
Well,
right.
it's a loss.
What
I mean,
is
none
a
of us are
write-off?
accountants.
Right.
We just write it
Just
off.
Yeah,
right.
we're not
off.
accountants, but we just write it off, right? To the government?
Yeah,
Just write
yeah.
it off.
The government now,
Okay.
yeah, they take it. Yeah,
Write it off.
yeah. That's not
Doesn't
good.
it reduce your tax exposure?
So, in other words, to the moon.
To the moon. My understanding, and of course, check with your CPA and your tax professional, is that you can carry forward $3,000 a year of losses. So he'll be
That's it?
carrying that
He's
loss.
got a lot of
for-
years.
Oh, I think you can carry it forward.
you can
much
carry more
higher
losses,
than
you
that.
just-
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that true?
Yeah, $3,000 is the cap on annual deductions for losses.
Even business losses that are passed through to your personal return?
I would consult my tax attorney or my CPA.
I don't care that much because I just lose money and I don't try to carry it forward. So we're good.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah. It's a winning strategy. Really.
You know what I'm thinking about is I'm thinking more about the hypothetical write-offs that you can use against future profits.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to confuse the two
Yes.
in my head.
$3,000 is the
Carry forward
annual
loss.
cap on what you can claim, but you can carry forward an unlimited amount.
Oh,
of
you
losses.
can?
Yes,
Yes.
Well, then why are we saying $3,000?
because that's what you can book every year. So $3,000 is the annual cap on what you can deduct. So $3,000 in losses, right, gets deducted against your income that year. That's what you can write off per year. But if I have a $9,000 loss, I have 3 years of $3,000.
Right.
Right. So
What if I have a $900,000 carry forward loss?
That's called bankruptcy.
as we said, you have many years
Yeah.
of loss.
A lot of years. Is that 2,700 years, give or take? I don't know.
300? No, I don't know.
I'm going to ask my accountant about this.
Yeah. Good.
We'll have a follow up on this. An FU.
So, a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on. So, if the short position's closed, that means here
The
we go.
S&P is flying, right?
Here we go.
S&P had, I believe, its best day of the year
Yesterday.
Yesterday, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
strong day.
Or since April?
NASDAQ up over 2%. S&P, I believe, almost 2%. Right, Dow
Salt
was
and
up
pepper.
significantly. To your point earlier, Brendan, it's we're in a situation where bad news is good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Until the bad news is bad news again.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And who
When
judges
is that?
Like,
when is that? Yeah.
I think the
Can you
Fed
tell us?
decides that.
Yeah.
or the people at Encore? Like Encore
the casino?
on Wall Street? I
Oh,
mean, Wall
oh.
Street is essentially Encore with better suits.
Well, I believe the probability of the Fed raising again this year is now sub 20%. Last I checked, it's probably even
those
lower
numbers
now.
Dropped, yeah.
It just dropped from, I think there was a 33% likelihood of an increase in February. I'm gonna butcher the dates, but the data is somewhat reliable.
The Fed increase 2024.
There was a 33% likelihood of an increase in, say, February. That is now at 2%.
2024.
2024
That's
as
good.
of yesterday, and the
That's why you're seeing rates slide.
a little bit, yeah. Basically, the Fed's constant higher for longer mantra has now been flipped on its head with yesterday's
Has
inflation
the Fed
data.
said that?
No.
They haven't yet. So it's
Right.
all
So what
speculation.
happens when
There's-
everybody bakes this shit in and then it doesn't happen?
So that's the
that's
market
why- that's-
expecting a certain result, and then the Fed can just come from the top
Yeah.
ropes and choke
I
slam
mean,
everybody.
they've been very clear that they're not altering their course. So, like, I don't know why everybody has created this narrative that
Well-
puts a different spin on this.
Well, if you read the minutes, so my understanding, and Anthony or Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, not Brendan though, don't correct me if I'm wrong,
That's okay. I will.
is one of the more recent Fed meeting minutes, not this past round, but the round before, is when higher for longer is the mantra. A lot of negativity about the housing market, and so therefore rates fly up to 8. Okay. And then a lot of drama, a lot of good indicators start to happen. You had really, really good unemployment numbers, and by really good, I mean it hit 3.9%, which is bad, and that's once you hit 4, signals a recession. I believe it's what I heard on the internet. So, so that's a good thing for mortgage interest rates. You see, obviously, this inflation data. You see the jobs report being bad, not enough jobs.
Weaker.
Yeah, weaker. And then you see the other ones get revised. Of course, we knew that was going to happen anyway.
Every time.
All of this stacked in like 2 to 3 weeks after a previous commentary about a lot of negativity, but maybe we won't raise one more time. And so you saw rates start to come down a little bit, and then a little bit of a softer glimmer of hope from your boy JP. And so now you see this dramatic rate slide coupled with better CPI data that broke.
Yeah, and I think
whatnot.
one of the things that led to rates improving this week specifically, referring to those minutes, they've also been pretty adamant that they will depend on the data, right? So they can say we're going to be higher for longer, this is what we expect to happen, but we're going to be data dependent. So if the data shows us something different, then we will adjust course. But without that, they're staying true to their word.
Yeah.
But it sounds like everybody just decided that this means that they're not going to raise again. So my question is, what happens when they raise again?
It's unlikely that they will. One of the things they said recently, again, the minutes, was the run-up in the 10-year yield was effectively doing the tightening for them. So they now are not in a position to have to raise further to then cause that tightening effect. Now,
But as Marty
the 10-year
said,
has slid,
right,
so who knows?
right. So
Any thoughts?
Marty was agreeing with you.
I was agreeing with you. Yeah. So effectively, right, Powell said we're data driven, right? So we will make decisions based on what the numbers say, right? So I like that because he wasn't pigeonholing himself into one particular lane.
I said X, whatever, yeah.
Left it open. And he did also, right, intimate that the rising in rates, right, was creating a tightening effectively of lending. And so that was doing his job for him.
100%.
But their mandate is to stamp out inflation, right? Inflation is the lesser of all evils. Or sorry, inflation is the greatest of all evils.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get too
so
much.
none of that says we're lowering rates.
Well, here's the deal. I personally think that they've been following this probability number for whoever does that witchcraft math. It's been pretty dead on. And so when rates are the probability is sky high, they're raising that. The probability being super low right now, you're seeing mortgage rates adjust proactively because the probability of them not being raised is super high.
I agree with all that. I'm just concerned.
You're
that
just saying what if?
Well, I'm
they
just
bucked
saying
the
that,
trend.
that everybody's like just made this decision that the
It's
market
all
had
better.
its best day ever. Yeah, best day of the year yesterday. Like everybody is all in on. Well, now it's all done, and we're going to start lowering. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
So like, what happens when this exuberation ends and it's like, oh shit, they're not, and we have all been playing for 3 weeks or a month on our end of year trades on rates staying and the market continuing to go up, and then it's like, oh, JK, we just bumped them up another, whatever.
Well, we're
And then
going to start to
everything
see
blows up.
We're going to start to see other
Yeah.
leading indicators before that. I think will be the case. So I think it'll be a less of like we'll get blindsided by Powell or something like that. The Fed, So.
Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yesterday was interesting. CPI missed by 1/10 across the board, and the market had a day like it beat by a full percent, or
Right.
it missed by a full percent. I think it's just continued evidence that things are trending in the right direction, and that miss was important, But It's volatile. Things like gas prices. Gas was down 5% on this CPI. That was a leading contributing
Which doesn't
factor.
make sense either,
No. Well,
because like they're blowing up the Middle East. So like,
Trailing
why
data.
isn't gas
Trailing
going
data.
up?
But then when it does, right, and then it increases
Yeah.
5% on the next report,
Yeah.
then everybody's minds explode.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, Martin, anything to add? Just seems like you're smart. I don't know.
Yeah,
Want to give us some
so-
hits?
So Brendan does play the contrarian well,
Yeah,
so he
good
brings
job,
up
B.
some good points, right? But
Is it misguided?
No, I just
no,
think
it's always
worth
good to have
talking
that
about.
right that other viewpoint.
Negative opinion leader.
I'm not being negative. I'm just like wondering what happens
Instigator.
when everybody is like all in on like one direction, and
I'm
it's like,
sensing
oh
some
shit.
fear.
I'm
Scarcity
scared.
mindset.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Scarcity.
So you know, I like the leading indicator of inflation being lower than the Fed funds rate, and I think that's good for long-term projections. This talk of soft landing, I think, is interesting. Right, it's been a talk for some time.
Has there ever been one?
Good
it hasn't
question.
crashed.
Good question. I'd have to ask the Google machine if there ever has been one.
Like,
but-
is this like some fucking made up thing? Like, oh, we're gonna create a soft landing, right? Like, also seems kind of doesn't make sense. Like, we're in the longest bull market. We've gone the longest without a recession in history. Like, it just doesn't add up. Like, oh yeah, it's just we've like just gone up.
This time
and then
it's different.
Oh, and this time it's not going to repeat history. It's like Hitler's not going to come to power again, right? Like all
He's
of these
dead.
things, like history repeats itself. You know, socialist leaders come into play. Like it just
we
history
really wandered there.
Yeah.
Hitler.
Well.
Yikes.
There
Yikes.
was an economic downturn as a result of World War I in Germany. He took a populist position and
You're
ginned
chasing.
up the
You're
crowds.
chasing the Hitler train right now. I'm not sure why you're doing this.
I'm saying because history repeats itself. So if we don't learn from history, like
Yeah.
typically,
We'll just edit this part out.
Yeah.
typically
Nick.
when the economy gets to a point where it has
It
grown
has to
so
cycle.
much, it has to blow up to build up again, right?
Yeah.
There typically is a crash.
Yes.
There's typically a crash every 8 years on average, and we're on like year 16.
Okay, so just for the sake of this,
Yeah.
we've all seen the videos about how credit card is at its all-time high and leverage
Right.
and blah
But that's
blah
based
blah.
on inflation.
Well, it's
So-
so Anthony and I have had this discussion, and I mean I'll let you make your point, or do you want me to make it?
No, you can make the point.
I just remember we talked about it, and like, don't you think more people than ever with a growing population in the United States have credit cards?
Well, the population is actually declining in the United States, but
Dude, really? No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure it's
Birth
on
rate-
its way.
Birth rates are declining.
Yeah.
But with immigration, I believe
We
we're
don't
still
really
growing.
have immigration. FYI.
Wow, here we go.
No, we don't have immigration. 'Cause
Correct.
We just have an open border. So
Oh
Let's
my
not go down
God!
Let's not wander into that.
No, I would say the credit cards are based on inflation, inflated incomes, inflated purchasing. So when you make more money and everything costs more, you can afford to pay more in carrying costs on your credit card.
And it's a point. It is dropping.
Right. I mean, don't try to.
So, but where
Fact check
you were
me here.
going with this, right, is in a growing economy.
Yeah,
it's,
people spend
it's
more money.
logical that people are going to spend more money and credit card balances are going to increase. What we ran into was during COVID and everybody was getting stimmies.
Stimmies.
Credit card balances were dropping because
Yeah, savings was
you
way up,
couldn't
dude.
go out, you couldn't do anything. What are you going to do with the money? You dump it into savings, you pay off your credit card.
Right. And then
So
we had
that-
inflation.
Well, that inflection point when COVID ended and the stimulus ended, to now see savings rates hit almost all-time, if not all-time lows, and credit card balances at all-time highs, that's scary.
Yeah.
But in the face of a growing economy that, to your point, has grown for a number of years,
Has it grown or has everything just inflated? Right? Because the milk is a lot more expensive now.
Yeah,
People
but
are getting
everyone's
paid
making
now.
everyone's making 9% more statistically this year.
Right.
than
That's
last year.
inflation.
But one
That's what we're trying to curb.
one man's increased milk price is the milkman's increased income.
Right.
you.
So incomes
Yeah.
and everything has gone up.
Prices never go back down, right?
Correct.
Deflation is not going to happen.
Nope.
It's happened in 2015. It happened a bit in the 80s, but
But you're
in
just
the last
you're just
50
trying to
years.
stop it from continuing to compound.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
But
Prices
the
don't go
balance,
down.
I guess the point I was trying to make is I think the balances are related to the cost of goods and the incomes that are supporting the balances, right? Those things have both gone up significantly. So in turn, it's quite logical that credit card debt has gone up as well. I do think that you're right, though, that like during that time period when people were getting the stimmies, right? They weren't using their credit cards and they didn't have to go out, right? But when that stopped and people could go out again, and then everything was more expensive, and your income was the same because the raises didn't sort of equate with the cost of living increases, people started putting that difference on their credit cards. And credit card companies were giving out balance because we haven't had a downturn in 18, 16 years, whatever the number is. So everybody had these available balances that, crept up. And, I think that that's not over yet.
And if you're sitting on big credit card balances, you should refinance it into your mortgage.
You should
do, though?
Yeah.
You should, 100%.
Why?
Why would you pay 30% on a credit card, or 25%, I'm rounding up, when you can pay still admittedly high at 7.5%? But you're cash flow positive, theoretically. Everybody's numbers
or just
are
file
different,
bankruptcy and discharge it.
Yeah, you can just do that too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think we're going to see those soon. Like they must be around the corner.
I would agree with you.
Curious with a lot of real estate centric people in the room. The last time rates were this high was what, 80s,
90s.
So if you're not buying now, or if you're not refinancing now because you think it's going to go down, what happens if we have a situation like the 80s, right, where it took, 10, 15, 20 years for rates to go back down to where they were previously, right? What happens if a bunch of people decide to do that? Like, think about all the wealth that would be missed out
By not buying? Oh, yeah, 100%. I saw a stat recently, and I'm sure I'm going to screw it up, but it was like with when rates were in like the low 80s, or sorry, in the early 80s when rates were higher, if people said, I'm going to wait till rates come down, you would have waited 22 years to make that purchase.
Right.
And you would have missed out on like epic.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Probably millions.
Probably millions
of appreciation. Because who knows who would have parlayed
And plus
what
you were
asset.
paying rent.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah. Crazy. So yeah, I mean, listen, I've someone actually, a past client of ours, BB, hit me up this morning. He goes, I'll read his question on air.
Oh,
Ready?
boy.
He goes, hey, quick question. So when is this home buying window going to close on me forever?
Ooh.
Is it 1 to 3 months or 3 to 6 months? And then he sent me the dazed and confused emoji. and I, what's your answer?
Closed forever. I say spring market next year.
I said within 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, so we're aligned.
Right. So if you think about it, truthfully, in the next several months, if you do not get your shit together and get ready to purchase a new property, the reality of this is he is going to be stuck living in a unit in a multifamily.
Why is that?
Because, well, I mean, again, he might not be the best client to talk about this with, but if you're somebody who's paying $3,000, $4,000 in rent, and although you can afford a mortgage right now, the reality is when rates come down, like they are starting to come down right now,
prices are going to go up.
Yeah, like we say this line to consumers all the time on the phone. Anthony, when rates come down, do you think prices are going to go up or are they going to go down?
They're going
to go up. Okay. And so we were talking about it yesterday in the office. We also had a mutual client who, I believe you did as well, who bought a home in the spring. It was super competitive, 30 plus offers. The reality is they had to waive every possible contingency, I think the stat was like 22% over asking price on a $600,000 to $700,000 house.
Yep.
Because it was the hot spring market when rates, by the way, which we thought were high, were 6.25%.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they might have got something down in the low 5s. I don't think so though.
I think they were low 6s.
Right.
They were at market.
It was a good rate.
Yeah.
Great rate.
Right.
We love that. We'd love that rate again. Right. So, but they had to be super, super competitive. Now that's a comp for that whole neighborhood. So the values are up now, but now like they're not going to compound that fast. Anyone who's buying right now, which we have people buying in the same neighborhood, 1 to 2 to 3 offers in the property at or around list price, which is good, but list price is still higher. Make no mistake, because that's a comp now. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there was some compounded acceleration. And then you have those people who are going to go try and buy. They're getting inspections now, but the second that rates come down, we're going to go right back to that market. And I personally predict that we're going to see the same compounded appreciation that we saw during COVID times in the next 6 to 9 months. The second this happens, there is so much freaking
I
pent up.
agree.
There's so much pent up demand right
So
now. It's
much.
absolutely absurd.
I have
I don't disagree with any of
hundreds
this.
of clients that are just like, yeah, we're going to wait.
Yeah, till when?
Well, and that's the thing. And I'm starting to be encouraged because I'm hearing from more and more of them that, hey, actually buying now at higher rates, it actually sounds like the better idea.
There's
not as
Yeah.
many buyers out.
Yeah.
You know, sure, inventory's low, but less competition. I can keep my inspection if I want it. These are the conversations we're having now. It's encouraging for me.
It's hard
that
to get people through that.
Totally. Super hard.
But you need to, because I'd rather be at 7.5% interest with a little bit of a deal right now, and values are directionally flat. We're up here like very, very slightly, but up a couple points here is like, it's just not a big deal. It's usually up 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, if not plus. It has been for the last 5 years in a row.
Yeah. Curious for your guys' thoughts. I saw yesterday that some real estate in San Francisco was selling for significantly less than the purchase price as recently as 2020. Is that you, in your opinion, your professional opinions, is that just relative to San Francisco and what's going on in that market, or is that predictive of urban markets across the country?
I personally think that that's very, very specific to California and the population exodus.
In San Francisco specifically.
Yeah, techs, return to office, density. It was one of the most, I think it was the most expensive market in the United States. Obviously, New York and Boston are up there too, but like they didn't have, I don't even want to call it the density. I think it's actually this very similar population size to Boston. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I'll double check it real quick. But like the reality is like it was so overinflated for so long, and now that people are leaving, there's just actually too much supply for the demand, so it's falling. You're seeing a lot of secondary home markets, in my opinion, like this big boom that happened in Arizona, or a lot of the institutional buyers are seeing that same type of compression. So Arizona, I think, is fairly significantly down. Different parts of Florida are down, or at least.
I thought everywhere in Florida was up.
I gotta be. So I watch the market around Tampa fairly, strong. But you keep hearing that Tampa is one of the hottest real estate markets in the country. So I don't know what's going on, but the reality is down in Anna Maria in the Bradenton area, there is a shitload of inventory.
Really,
there's a shitload of inventory, but supposedly prices are not down, which it's
weird.
I don't really understand. But think about it: who's buying a second home? What's the rate on a second?
I don't
home
think
right
they're
now?
second homes. I think it's people moving to Florida.
It's impossible. I mean,
yeah, that you're probably correct.
It's
right.
hard.
So
It's
like
hard.
Naples is blowing up, Miami's blowing up, Palm Beach is
it's all
blowing
cost of
up.
living.
It's all people from New York, Chicago, Boston,
That's fair.
Connecticut,
That's
New
fair.
Jersey.
There's a
Like
huge
coming back to
exodus.
your migration numbers on the tax returns.
Yeah.
I think as we see filings for this year compared to last year, those numbers are going to be significant.
I think
didn't Bezos just moved to Florida?
Bezos is moving to Miami because it is a lower tax environment than Washington State. I was listening to
Texas is still seeing huge growth.
CNBC this morning, and they said that if we keep up at this pace, they anticipate that Miami will replace New York as the financial hub of the country.
Jeez.
Was that on the Squawk Box?
That was on the Squawk Box. It was right after Weck's word of the day.
Nice.
What was the word?
I don't know. I was late. I didn't hear it.
Cool.
It's right around. It's right around 5:40.
Super glad you brought that one up.
He was just being judicious.
Yeah.
But it makes me happy every day when he asks for the word of the day because it reminds me of our podcast. The word.
So anyway, I know we're talking just rabbit hole. Thanks for pushing us there on the real estate talk. But like it's gonna be. I really think it's gonna be bonkers. There was a stat every. I think there's 55. He check me if I'm wrong on this. Like Eric was telling me this, so I'm sure the numbers are wrong. But 55 million eligible buyers pre-approved, ready to rock in the United States. Well, there's only 4 million some odd transactions that'll happen this year. So just think about that from a housing crash as a concept.
Mm-hmm.
And when rates went up to 8, I think something like 20% of them bowed out of the market. They're no longer qualified. So obviously they're kind of qualified again right now, almost-ish, right?
Right.
You get a little bit more suppression. You're going to have so many more pre-approved, ready to rock.
But we still have no inventory.
There's a
that's
stat.
That's why you're going to see the market just freaking.
The stat I've
bananas.
heard is for every 1% drop in interest rates, 5 million new buyers enter the market. So extrapolate that across the country.
So piggybacking off that, I'm curious for your opinion. Is there an inflection point? Is there a rate at which liquidity happens in the real estate market? Right, people begin to sell, people begin to buy.
I think there is. I don't know
Say
pinpoint.
Say it on the count of 3. You ready?
Yep. 1, 2, 3.
5.
6 and an eighth.
Ooh, we're close. Something in the 5s.
Can I throw some cold water on this?
5.875 to 6 1/4.
Yeah, I'm super with you there. I do think you're going to start to see momentum in the low 6s, but I think people's mindset, it's going to hit, oh my God, I got to get back in.
Well, as soon as it hits 5, right? It's like, I said this in the early days, right? A year ago when rates started running up. When you're looking in the rear view at 3%, of course 5% seems incredibly high. But now we're looking in the rear view at 8. When it hits 5 again, people are going to go, oh man, I have to sell now because what if it goes back up?
Yeah.
It's anchoring, right? Psychologically, people have anchored, right,
exactly
to 3.
what it is.
And so, to your point, right, now we've seen anchoring at the upper end. So if we see some movement downward, right, I tend to agree. I think there is somewhere around 5 or 6 where people begin to say, okay, right, now I can sell, now I can buy, right? Because, hey, 3 to 8 was a bridge too far for many people, right? But 8 to 5, right, now we're moving in the right direction. Now, again, people can open up, right? They can sort of get their arms around 5%, not that bad relative to 8.
Well, especially when you look at historic rates and the 3% was the anomaly, right? We had it for 2 years. Yeah. It's never been that low before. On average, 7% is actually the average over 30 years. But when you get to 5, things are a little bit more comfortable.
Did I talk to you about the buying out your mortgage concept already?
Maybe.
Okay, so again, some other TikTok thing that I read, which so clearly is going to happen.
I love your TikTok habit.
I just get it. I just love short form video, man. I don't know. It's great. So
speaks to him.
I saw it was
to something.
It was like a video.
Sure.
It was like a video mastermind, like a video of a mastermind event. Mortgage brokers, I presume. They said, if you think about all these loans at 2 and change or low 3s, right?
Oh, we did talk about this.
Right. So you have the maturity of those. Obviously, it's a long time. People aren't going to. They're anchored. They're not going to want to move. But if you think about it from the bank's point of view, they'd love to get that off the balance sheet.
Oh, 100%.
They'd love to get it out of there, right? They could make double, triple the money if they could just recoup that capital right now. So think about how the amortization chart works of a loan. First 7 years, super interest rate. Quite frankly, the first 2 to 3 to 4 years,
all interest.
Super interest heavy, right? And then you start getting really equitable with your principal, and eventually, after I think year 7, it really starts to get principal heavy, right? So, what's the take on any? 20?
I think it's a little later than that.
A little longer, but
okay,
directionally,
you get my point.
We're tracking with
the
you.
cost benefit analysis, so to speak, of letting this loan mature for another 23 years to recoup a very, very much smaller piece of the pie than I would have got in the front half amortization is my point. So think about year 7, year 8, year 9. So we're talking 2030. Do you think that the banks are going to call up Anthony and say, hey, Anthony, what's going on? We see that you only owe $400,000 on this property, and your rate is X. We'd really like to refinance you out of this loan because we'd like to recoup our capital. We will directionally let you short sell it back to us to a degree. Hey, your payoff is now $275. Will you refinance with us? But you got to go to X years at whatever percent. It's kind of an interesting concept. You're accosted by this. Just think they're going to want their money back to go make more money. So,
I think they want their money back now.
Right. So I think that
which was going to get to my next question on this.
Like the people that owe $600,000-$700,000, that's where I'm at a 2,875. Like, come and offer me $100K haircut, dude. I'm gonna refi, man. Hell yeah, and I'll just relaunch and I'll lower my term and whatever it is. I think that's a great way to recoup the capital and improve the balance sheet of the bank. But I don't know. What's your take? You'd have to make sure it obviously makes mathematical sense, but
I mean, for sake of discussion, we'll just we'll just stipulate that it actually does. But I don't know where the banks are going to get money to lend money, right? So all of this interest rate discussion has been based on capital flowing freely, right? So I've talked to a couple local banks.
Oh yeah, they don't want to lend.
They just shut off lending. Like they don't want to lend right now because they don't have the capital to lend against, right? So that has to come somewhere, right? Warehouse lines are based on on interest rates. Like everything's based on interest rates and money being available somewhere. And as access to principal decreases, like rates may come down, but the cost to give the loan or to get principal may not. And rates may stay higher because nobody's got money to lend, right? Like I think that's a problem too. Because we've got all this capital.
It's just not with the small banks.
Where do you think the big banks get the money? Everybody's the money's
going
to come from
the biggest bank in the world.
But that's the thing. When the Fed rates come down and it's a little bit easier to borrow, then all the banks borrow from the Fed. Now the banks have liquidity to lend to the individuals or the on the corporate side, the companies. There's so much we don't know.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot. Like everything that I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just think that the money's got to come. Like the money has to come from somewhere.
It's Jay Powell's money printer.
It's interesting. It's an interesting idea to think about.
Is there more you want to say about it, or that just seemed like I'm done talking about this? Let's move on.
I think it's that.
Yeah,
okay. That was the polite way of saying like this is boring. Let's go.
Wow.
Just
literally just go shit in a hat.
That's what Marty just told you.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
That's the Gloucester way to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, what else can we talk about?
We'll leave that in.
What else can we
we're
talk about?
leaving it all in.
We don't even edit anymore.
Yeah, well, that's just a fallacy. There's no editing.
We'll do it live.
Yeah.
We should do it live.
We should do it live.
We should stream it on
Yeah.
the tube.
I am to further this conversation. I'm
Oh, you're
interested
going back?
on-
You're starting again?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm pitching you something to talk about.
Cool. Yeah, cool, please.
I'm interested in your take on the lawsuit, the realtor lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, how could we not talk about this?
Yeah, listen, I'll give you several takes. What specifically do you want? Do you want my opinion on the verdict? Or are you looking? Okay, so let's just hit the lawsuit is specifically the litigation of buyer agency commissions, antitrust stuff. I don't know the antitrust law. I default to Brendan, but this whole concept of collusion was happening. It was litigated in Missouri. The jury deliberated for a very short period of time and basically handed out a guilty verdict with a $1.78 billion settlement.
Treble damages too.
Yeah, not great.
Who's paying that?
Do you want to know?
I'd love to know.
Nobody, because they're just going to go bankrupt.
Nope, disagree. It's a very easy solve. So first off, they're going to appeal the settlement, not the verdict, correct?
I think they're going to appeal both.
Well, yeah, I'm sure
they should appeal both.
I'm sure they're going to. And at the end of the day, if my understanding, the more I look into it, is by the letter of the law, they should have lost. Okay, that's my actual opinion.
Well, they never should have gone to trial.
Well, it's this whole thing's a money grab, in my opinion. Next thing you know, we should be litigating attorney's fees, I guess, and all these other bullshit things.
They probably will.
Yeah, listen, that was actually some propaganda spewed, like, let's countersue and say, okay, well, you've now set precedent that say we shouldn't have earned these fees, so we're going to countersue the attorney because the attorneys are, whatever. But, they went to law school, so I don't want to go there. At the end of the day, I think the whole thing is a money grab. I do think that in principle, there's some stuff wrong in the industry that I think this will help solve. Very specifically, my understanding is, again, in this state, there is truly a limited buyer agency stuff on their contracts. So like a listing contract in the state of Massachusetts would say, seller, Marty, you're paying reference real estate X percentage of commission. Further down in that contract, we're offering up buyer agent compensation. You get to pick that. When I talk about it with clients, we set the range. There's not a standard of compensation. It's just
that's not allowed. That's
the problem, right? That's where
right.
This artificially inflating commissions or telling you have to or whatever. At the end of the day, all of that I perceive as a negotiation. So that's where I kind of find this whole thing fundamentally flawed. But in Massachusetts, at least for a very long time, that has been separated, those commissions. In these states, it is not. It actually says you sign up, you pay X, and then without your consent, contractually, I could have verbally told you, but it doesn't matter. But I go offer up some of yo cash to Brendan, who's got the buyer, and we've colluded, and allegedly, and that was conceptually my understanding of the issue. Okay,
now I thought the issue was that in order to list your property on the multiple listing service,
You need to offer
you needed to
compensation. Also
offer
true.
buyer compensation, and that's the collusion.
Yes.
Is that in order to access the mass market of your property,
Yep.
you couldn't do it, and MLS would not allow your listing to go live if you did not put in something offering the buyer's agent compensation.
That's
And I think that's the collusion piece.
Well, and I think also there was some other stuff where
And
to get access to the MLS,
you had to be a member
realtor,
of NAR.
right? Because they controlled the MLSs. There's a lot of stuff, but like, in theory, like in Massachusetts, you could have posted $1 for comp. I don't think someone's going to litigate that, right? Which I believe MLS recently will change, and I think once that settles out in April or May, you can put 0. There's a lot to it. But I think the narrative in the news is all about how, buyer agency is at risk, which is kind of interesting. So I don't believe that is the case. I think it'll strengthen.
Agreed.
I think that'll strengthen the industry because I think the scaredy cats, scarcity mindset, are going to freak out. In fact, I've taken more phone calls on this from clients and also other realtors in the industry more in the last 3 months than I have in years. I think the consumer will become a little bit more educated. I don't have a problem with that. I think a great agent has always continuously added their value and articulated this the way I kind of did. Seller pays X. We're offering this. This is an offer of compensation. Here at Reference, typically what we're going to do is we're going to do a variable rate structure. So if there is no buyer, there's actually some savings potentially for the seller, as there should be, versus I think a scummier person is just trying to stuff their pockets with the seller's cash, right? So I fundamentally disagree with that. And so we often will offer some sort of benefit. But I think buyer agency will strengthen from this. I would never take a listing without a listing contract. Well, more than likely, I'm going to stop taking buyers without a buyer contract, right?
But that's just good business.
I completely agree with you, and I think all of that will strengthen the industry, and I think there will be a little bit of an additional disclosure because right now the vast majority of realtors say...
Don't do it.
What? Oh, yeah,
The vast majority of realtors don't do it.
I thought you were telling me to not say what I was about to say.
No,
Eileen was
no.
going to crucify me again or something like that. I think the vast majority of realtors say, hey, good news, Anthony, my services are free. And that's not the case. You're paying for it. You just don't understand how you're paying for it.
I mean, I was educated very early in this business, just first day in the door doing mortgages, that when a buyer has questions about, well, I don't want a realtor because I have to pay them. We were literally instructed to say, no, you don't pay anything.
Right.
The seller actually pays your realtor. And with no other information, we just took that as fact. Now we're seeing some of the runoff.
But this is another casualty of a 15-year run on a bull market, right? So we've not needed to be creative to get buyers in the door because there's no inventory. So, right, like the second we see a switch in that there are no more buyers and all we have is sellers, it's going to be really easy for sellers to want to give all sorts of money to buyers agents to get people at their properties, right? So, like, part of this is also another casualty of there
market.
hasn't been a change in the hot market. And if the market had shifted in the last year or two while this was being litigated and there were no buyers, I think this would have turned out vastly different because people would have had a different opinion of what it takes to sell a house. So right now, I think most people watch, that Netflix show on realtors and thinks that like the realtors show up and the buyers show up and like they don't do any work and it's done. And that's not the case.
Right.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
And expense.
So yeah, I mean, for us, we've been practicing buyer agency.
I sometimes think that, but I mean, I've heard that there's a lot of work involved.
He's heard. We've been practicing buyer agency for a while, and I think all of you guys to render your professional services are doing some sort of engagement, and I don't think realtors have, and I think they'll start to. And I personally, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm actually excited for it because there's going to be a lot of attrition when licenses expire. People are worried. I think if you just in general think about the Zillow economy, the people that meet their clients for the first time in a driveway, like there's that whole business model directionally is a little messed up right now.
Agreed.
Right? If you're a Zillow agent through and through, you're struggling right now. Okay. And I think that ultimately you now open the door to potentially have a normal conversation with a seller as a buyer's agent or with the seller's agent on behalf of the seller around what your buyer agency compensation is. Okay, so for the markets that offer a lower amount, I think this opens the door for a strong salesperson to onboard a buyer at a higher rate potentially and potentially make more money. Statistically, as from an an organic growth metric, our buyer agency commission rates have barely moved 3 basis points in 7 years. Okay. Yet the seller one has ballooned as we offer more services, improved our sales, whatever you want to call it. Right. And so I think this will create some legs there as well. And
I think you're an anomaly in that area.
Well, that's
too,
why.
though.
Agreed.
Okay, but that's why I'm excited for it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how I'm thinking about it. Like, wow, what an opportunity!
So what can we do to get buyers, right? Like at a higher.
Well, here's
compensation
here's
rate.
my fear, right? From an uneducated point of view, because I know what's going on with it, but I don't know all the ins and outs that you just laid. I mean, I just learned something in the last 10 minutes.
Podcasting.
My fear, right, as a lender representing
Can't
or
afford the
assisting
commission.
buyers, is affordability is already at an all-time low, right? People are struggling to come up with down payment money. Now, if this buyer agency thing goes away and they, meaning the buyer, is forced to pay the realtor's commission, they have to make a decision.
Not going to happen.
It's either buy the house with no realtor or pay for a realtor. Now I can't afford the house.
Let's not forget buyer agency was created to protect the consumer.
Sure.
Right. And so I agree, this bull market has created an environment where like, we don't need this, right? Well, I'm of the opinion, and this might be like girl math or something, but like
Realtor math.
well, whatever. If buyer agency commissions became illegal tomorrow, okay, isn't your house artificially inflated by 2.2%?
Arguably, yeah.
Okay, so you just lost equity in your home. So now we have to, if you said, I'm not offering buyer agency compensation, and you are, there's a price difference there. I don't get to use Brendan's house as the comp for your house anymore. It's Brendan's house adjustment buyer rate. It's like that's how I'm thinking about it, and that's my point of view.
And if you had a good buyer's agent talking to the appraiser, you could make that distinction.
So like, I don't know. It's just I don't think that's going to be an issue. What I'm saying is it's going to open the door, if it is an issue, to be an addendum to the contract and written in. And now the seller's still paying it because it's already in your equity, right? It's just the paperwork might change a little bit. You might say no. I might say, here's my contract. I'm asking X, and therefore I'm trying to net it. Now,
well, that's my other point of view, right? Is it's still going to end up on the seller, because as a buyer, I'm going to walk in the door and I'm going to go, oh, I owe my realtor 2%. Cool. Hey, seller, I'm going to offer you
2% less.
$800,000 for your house. I want you to cover my realtor's.
It's already built into their equity, is my point of view.
Right.
I don't have to give you an extra 2%.
Right.
That's 4%.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And why can't it go on the seller credit, right? So the seller closing cost credits. Why can't it be another credit on on the CD for?
I mean, that was my first reaction. Was okay. So we're just going to deal with it with seller credits now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And effectively,
and arguably,
we'll see.
It's chicken or the egg, isn't it? The buyer's money from the bank that actually creates the equitable taxable event.
Right.
So without me, you actually don't have any realized cash at all. So don't you need me? I think to Brendan's argument, it's like there's people beating down your door to buy your house, so why should you do it?
Well, then why would you hire a realtor at all?
Well, because you're going to get 17% less money, and it's going to take you 3 months, and it's going to be fucking hard.
Well, I mean, I think everybody should hire.
There's the stats.
There's a similar thought process in our world in financial planning and finance, right? Investment management, which is when there's a bull market, there's a lot of folks who say, hey, I can just do this on my own. It's really easy.
Wait till the
to
market
look
dips.
smart,
Yeah.
right? In a bull market.
I've done that.
Going back to real estate, though, I don't think that this changes anything at all for the high end of the market, for the mass market. I think the only people and the only homes that are potentially affected are those on the lower end of the market.
Yeah.
Right. I think to your point, I think it's actually beneficial for the higher end of the market, for the mass market, because a better educated realtor, a more professional realtor, right, more well-rounded realtor is going to do better in this new market. And everybody who is fly-by-night, part-time, right, mailing it in, those folks just don't have a place in the new
I agree with you.
But they don't even know they exist across the entire spectrum
for now.
Yeah,
for now. So someone asked, how's this lawsuit going to get paid for? I want to give you my heads up here. So first off, they're challenging all of that, and I'm sure it will come down. But let's say it doesn't. Okay, we know that I think KW is still in it, right?
Yeah.
NAR is still in it.
Yeah.
Was there another brokerage? I can't even remember.
There was one more. Berkshire Hathaway, maybe.
They settled.
They did.
They were one of the settlers.
Anywhere and Remax settled.
But Berkshire Hathaway did not.
Aren't they Anywhere?
I don't think so. I think they're Berkshire Hathaway. I don't think they're one of the Anywhere brands, but they may be.
I'd have to check. I think they are.
Okay.
So, I mean, Keller Williams does not have that much money.
They can't.
I think they have a couple, maybe. I mean, we'd have to go check their balance sheet.
Well, and everybody
They don't
thought
have it.
Anywhere was crazy for spending $60 million to settle this.
Yeah, well, that's because that was their available cash, and that's
Correct.
all they were going to get
Yeah.
anyway if they lost.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm sure there's some similarity to KW and what that looks like, and they're not going to go bankrupt. It's a multi-billion-dollar organization. They're cash poor, sure. I think there's a very easy solve. Although a couple of these companies, as part of their settlement, said you don't have to be a realtor anymore. I don't think the member, like I wouldn't go cancel my membership tomorrow, right? I'm going to let it fall off through attrition at the end of the year. Okay. So I think in probably not this January, but the following January, there's, by the way, currently 1.6 million realtors that are realtors. Okay. Which is dues
With the R.
right? And let's say that falls off to, I don't know, 1.2 million.
I got another one for you.
You know what they're going to do?
Everybody
'Cause
from NAR.
Hold on. You're going to pay dues, and they're going to say, hey, Seth, this is called a special assessment. We need an extra $1,000 from you. And I'm going to go, okay. What do I have to be a realtor? So
Why? Why do you have to be a realtor?
Because my brokerage requires it.
And what if so here's what I think is going to happen. I think that given the
By the way, that's $1.2 billion, just if you're doing the math.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that math.
There's the money. There you go.
But it's not like a condo association where you can just special assess the members.
Whatever. Listen, I'm not the attorney in the room on the couch currently.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it seems like a pretty easy
And
math to
it
me.
may
Just
be
creative financing.
collusive for your agency, your brokerage, to require that you be a member of this organization.
It may be.
And that
I'm
was part of the lawsuit and the settlement, so that could go away.
Okay, but
Number two is they've been totally,
that's due to MLS access, I believe.
which is the genesis of the
But
lawsuit,
and
the
I can be-
MLS and
But in Massachusetts, I can be on MLS without being a realtor.
okay,
So
because
I'm just saying.
because they settled this lawsuit here.
But no, you never had to be
You never
a
had to be.
realtor to be in the MLS.
Okay, in some states you did.
Correct.
But this is just one of the many things plaguing NAR right now, right?
there's-
They've had a
there's-
ton of other scandals. So why aren't people just leaving and going and starting, I don't know,
A new one?
and the Realtors Association
Well,
of America,
make
and
no-
everybody's
make
going to
no
have
mistake.
another R that looks a little different,
Make no
and they don't
mistake.
have the debt of the lawsuit. Oh, gee.
I think you're going to see that also happen.
Yeah. I mean, that would be where I would put my money, is
Yeah.
that everybody flees, they
I also-
bankrupt that, and
I also
open
don't
a
think-
new one.
I don't think we need a North Shore Association of Realtors, a Greater Boston Association. Like, you're going to see everyone go, this sounds dumb. It's a lot of money. Let's restructure into a hyper-local branch that is everything. And all those chapters, so to speak, or whatever they're called, they're going to go away to cut some costs as they restructure with new leadership and new interim CEO and whatnot. But I don't know the rules. I'm sure it's going to say if we need to charge you more money, we can. I probably signed that piece of paper.
Probably.
And then let's agree it's not going to be $1.8 billion anyway.
No.
Right.
And yeah, we're running up on an hour here. Let's talk about something else.
65 minutes in.
Yeah.
Timer just went off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Want to talk about the market, the stock market? You want to talk about investing and things and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Let's,
wander.
let's hear from.
and
Let's
then
hear
we can
from
call
Marty.
it. Marty's been quiet,
We
man.
can wander into that.
Let's wander.
Yeah.
Tell us a story
To tell you a story.
about the market.
Yeah, so the market is a mechanism to transfer wealth from the patient investors to the impatient investors. And so yesterday was a good example of that, right? So a lot of talk recently, just right sort of at large of why do I need to be in the market when treasuries are paying me 5%, right? Why do I need to be in the market when treasuries are paying me 5%? I can get a not quite, but close to risk-free investment with an attractive yield. Well, yesterday, right, if you were in treasuries and out of the market, you missed arguably the best day of the year. And so if we look at statistically, the best days in the market are generally within 30 days of the worst.
The worst.
Right? Of
Someone
the worst.
taught me that.
Right? So, right, rather than trying to time the market, which every study
Dangerous
has
game.
shown
Dangerous
that
game.
right is a fool's errand. The patient investor is rewarded by days like yesterday, right? Just by staying in the market. And so it really follows that the winning strategy is get rich slow, which is something that Warren Buffett has always preached.
I've been living by the great lyricist 50 Cent. Get rich or die trying.
Same.
Is he related to Dre?
He is. Yeah, they're brothers.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So-
blood brothers mostly, probably.
So if you're not doing that and you're not getting stimmies, right, your choice is to get rich slow. And so I love.
How do we get stimmies?
I love.
You don't want
stories.
stimmies anymore.
You don't want stimmies.
Oh.
Stimmies are bad for inflation.
Yeah, you don't want Jay Powell with stimmies. Yesterday was a day that just highlights the point of the patient investor, the person who's willing to get rich slow, the person who's willing to do the basics, right? They're going to get rewarded over the long term. So I love days like yesterday.
Same.
Where do you see the market going?
That's anybody's guess. Great question, but that's anybody's guess. I think long term, the market's going to do what the market's always going to do, which is it's going to be gradual.
The market will go up. The market will go down.
Gradually
Sometimes
rise.
very good, sometimes shit.
I love that. If you can imagine in your mind's eye, you're on an escalator and you have a yo-yo. That is the trend line of the market over time, right? Up and down at any particular moment.
What a
but
great
long
visual.
term, we're going up.
What kind of yo-yo?
Yeah.
Is it like a light up one, or is
One
it
of those
like,
cool ones from
Yeah.
20 years ago that
Yeah.
you do all the tricks with.
Yeah.
Yeah, rock the cradle.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You could probably rock the cradle, I bet. In yo-yo terms.
I love
That's
that.
what I was
I
talking
love
about.
that double entente.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean it to go there. But, you know.
And like, what about the credit rating for the United States?
Yeah, so
the
Moody's-
deal yesterday with
Right.
the continuing resolution. Like, what's that?
So Moody's
spell?
Yep, Moody's outlook. U.S. still affirmed as a AA rating, highest possible credit rating, but with a negative outlook. Certainly, I think something has to change. Some math has to change at the federal level, and so it'll be interesting to see what what the election season brings us in terms of it's gonna we're gonna have Democrats in power, we're gonna have Republicans in power. Is it going to be a mix of the two? But certainly, I think there has to be some combination of curtailing spending and increasing on taxes, because long term the long term trend is not good. Debt has never risen this quickly, and with the federal government choosing not to refinance any debt, we've got right now debt obligations at a much higher rate, which isn't good for the Fed. So.
Burning a lot of interest, those U.S. guys.
They did, yeah. So I think that's certainly interesting to watch. I think that probably does create some urgency politically for some across the aisle agreements on, as I said, curtailing spending and raising
And
taxes.
not acting will just raise taxes. So right, like we're gonna sunset in 2026 from the
Tax
Trump
cut.
tax cut.
Tax Cut and Job Act does sunset in 2026.
Don't
just by
love that.
inflation alone, right? Tax brackets have raised, right? Have risen, I should say, and so certainly on January 1st, 2026, we'll see the raising of tax rates across the board.
Sick.
Yeah.
Couple
Well,
new,
we're at the historically lowest tax environment that we've ever been in.
These are very low tax environments, right? So over the last century, if you were to look at tax rates, which
Feels
rise
different.
and fall.
That's because your income is the highest it's ever been.
maybe.
Yeah.
Feels bad.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Yeah.
But historically, like this is something I talk to all my clients about.
Historically, these are low tax
Yeah.
rates. These are low tax rates, right? It doesn't feel like that, but they are. If we were to go back in time to the early 80s, the late 70s, tax rates, right? The highest bracket was right approaching and exceeding 70%. If you go back to World War II, highest tax brackets.
and what is it
approaching
now?
60.
37?
Stop working.
Yeah.
34?
Yeah, 37 and a half.
37 and a half.
Yeah.
Give me some stampies. You know what I mean?
There's no money for stampies.
Yeah,
Wow.
but so similar to real estate, right? The best time to invest is now, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So you should be right planting that seed, paying
Guys
yourself.
always
Full
got
of
great fucking
one-liners.
lines. Yeah.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first.
Pay
Marty-
yourself first.
Marty for president, dude. You know what I'm saying? El Prez.
Too many skeletons in that closet.
At least of the pay yourself first club.
Yeah. IRA limits going up.
IRA limits going up next year to $7,000.
What about Roth conversions for high earners?
Yeah, Roth conversions can be a great strategy, right, for retirees.
For retirees? Oh, what about for working people?
For working people, it depends, right, on an individual basis. what have the markets done? What does your tax bracket look like?
Just for the listeners, aka podcasters in the room, what is a Roth conversion? Is that when you convert another asset into a Roth?
Yes.
Great question. So that'd be taking your pre-tax IRA and converting it into a Roth IRA. You'd be paying tax on the amount of money converted at whatever your ordinary income
Why would I do
rate
that?
is.
Access it earlier?
So strategy-wise,
No.
you would do that for a couple of reasons. One is you'd want to move that money from the taxable world to the tax-free world. So money in a Roth IRA can grow and compound tax-free,
Yeah.
right, for decades. There are no required minimum distributions on Roth IRAs. And when
There is on an IRA?
There
Yes.
is on an IRA. When you pass a Roth IRA down generationally at death, it passes tax-free to your
Roth. Who's this Roth guy, huh?
But there are limits on who can create Roth IRAs based on income, right?
There are, yeah. So I believe it's for an individual.
172 or something.
Yeah, I think it might actually be a little bit lower than that. For a
Ooh.
married couple,
Oof.
it's, I believe the income limits start at $208,000 for a married couple. So not everybody can access a Roth IRA. There are certain caps on income. There are caps on annual contributions. So to that
What about
point, that's
backdoor
strategy.
conversions? That's what I want to learn
hey,
about.
let's-
I like the backdoor.
Yikes.
We wandered into that one. So
We're staying in it.
Don't leave us hanging.
Shut the door, will you?
Pull it together.
that backdoor strategy can make sense for certain individuals. You want to make sure you don't run afoul of the pro rata rule. So generally speaking, if you have IRA money, the back door is shut. If you don't, it's open. So on a case by case basis, you need to assess whether the back door makes sense for you.
Got it.
Man, that'll be a great reel. Let me tell you. And I think other limits went up too, right?
Yep. Yeah. So
Other
401k
retirement,
went
yeah.
up, right? IRA, Roth all went up. Simple SEP limits all went up.
Send it.
So
Send
let's
it to
go.
Marty.
Send it to Marty.
Assets under management. Let's go.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to hit on?
I think
We just covered like a lot of
we've
shit.
been everywhere.
A lot of shit.
Yeah.
We'll have to chop this up.
I
so
just
it
love
actually
having
has
these two back on the podcast.
good continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that like right in your face right now?
It's awesome.
Is it from the window?
It's from the window immediately above Brendan's head.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's that time of year where the
Beaming
sun
me.
is lower in the sky.
Yeah.
Beaming me right in the eyes.
Well, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure having you on the Word podcast.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to be back. It was
Yeah,
great.
I'm telling you, I this was fucking. I feel like we should make this like our own mini all-in podcast.
Yeah.
I like it.
And just we can have guests and stuff,
Just
but
send it.
it would be cool to just do this.
Yeah.
Because you need more things to do.
No. But I'm saying, well, actually, it would be more. I'm still doing it. I'm inviting you to potentially co-host
No, and I get
with
where
a
you're
high level of frequency.
but I'm saying you already have a podcast, so now you want
He wants
to
a
do
second
another
one.
No, we're not
Meaning
changing
you
it.
want more
We're just
work.
folding you it in.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm in for that.
Yeah, maybe a little rebrand.
I love it.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we
That's a sneak peek.
Yeah.
Sneak peek,
This is
jeez.
Let's peek around the corner.
A sneak
It's a
attack.
teaser.
yeah. That's not around the back door though. That would be.
That's just your Roth IRA.
Yeah, Mr. Roth. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Call it. You're gonna.
Oh,
ask
we're
him?
gonna ask them. Okay.
I mean, well, sure. I guess even though we've.
Let's
it's
just
now
call
next
it.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking
So-
call it. Whatever.
yeah, we're done.
We're done. We don't
We're
want to.
done.
We don't want to.
Yeah, we don't want to hear your words.
All right.
Nick, cut this last part. There's
Yeah.
awkward. Bye.
See ya.